Welcome back. And this time we are going to be working on Lab 3 of the DP-700 course, which is Delta Tables in Apache Spark. This lab should take you approximately 45 minutes to complete if you're completely new to Delta Tables and Apache Spark and Microsoft Fabric. But it will take us significantly less amount of time because we're already familiar with Fabric and Delta Tables and Spark. So let's get into it. The first task we're going to do here is create a workspace. In order to create a workspace, we are going to navigate to our Fabric portal, and we have a nice neat icon here called Workspaces. And we're going to click on that, and at the bottom you can see we have the plus new workspace. So here what I'm going to do is create a workspace called DP-700 Lab 3. And in the advanced section of this configuration, we're going to make sure we have selected the Fabric trial, or if you're using a premium capacity or a Fabric capacity, that will also work for this lab. And I'm going to hit apply. All right, so here we are in our workspace. The next task is to create a lakehouse and upload some data. So let's go and click on this plus new item. Scroll down and look for the Store Data section, and we can find our Lakehouse option there. Let's name the Lakehouse the same as our workspace DP-700 Lab 3. This will take a moment or two to get created. In the meantime, we should have downloaded this data file, which is mentioned in the instructions. So we're going to upload that data. There you go, our Lakehouse is created. So what we're going to do in order to upload this file, we're going to first create a subfolder called products. You can see it's written here, products. So I'm just going to paste the products text from my instructions here and create a subfolder called products. And in this subfolder, I am going to upload the product CSV file, which I already have downloaded. So here you go. I have my product CSV file, and I will upload this product CSV file. All right, there you go. So we can click on the products subfolder and go inside the subfolder and see that our product CSV file has indeed been uploaded. All right. Um, so now that we have created our products, let's go to the next task, which is explore the data in a data frame. In order to do this, we will be working in a notebook. So let's create a new notebook. I'm just going to click on the go into the Lakehouse, and here we're going to create a new notebook. Nice. So you can see because we created the notebook from within the Lakehouse, now I already have the Lakehouse connected to my notebook and I don't need to do any extra steps to connect my notebook to my Lakehouse. So the first thing we're going to do is replace this code from here. I'm just going to delete this, and I'm going to copy the code from here and put it in my first cell, and I'm also going to change this cell to a markdown cell. There you go. So that's what it says here in the second instruction in this task. And then we're going to add a new code cell, and we're going to copy the code in from here into our notebook. All right, so I'm just going to collapse this just to look at what we're doing here. We're just importing some um, data data types from PySpark.sql.types, and we're creating a schema with 4 columns: product ID, product name, category, and list price. And then with that, we are going to be reading our products.csv, which is in our products subfolder. Just going to correct the syntax there a bit, and let's run this cell. So a session started in 5 seconds, and soon we should see the output of the display df command. There you go. Now you can see we have some data which looks similar to the snapshot we have in instructions. Let's move on to the next task, finally creating delta tables. So you can see over here in the instructions, it says you can save a data frame as a delta table using the save as table method, and it supports creation of both managed tables and external tables. So let's go ahead and create a managed table. So in order to create a managed table, we have a code here. So I'm just going to skip down here and create a new code cell. There you go. So we're going to create a new table in the format of a delta table. So that's where we mention it. And the name of the table is going to be called managed products. So let's run that. And we're going to open up our lake houses because we're going to see the table object created under tables once this has executed. There you go. So 16 seconds to execute this. And so I'm just going to refresh my tables here. And there you go. I have my delta table called managed products, which we just created. All right. So that's the managed table. Now let's create an external table. So I'm just going to copy this here and I'm going to paste it in here. And over here, you can notice that it says that we need to copy ABFS path and substitute that in this location where it says ABFS underscore path. So let's do that. We're going to go to the files, and here we have the option to copy the ABFS path. So I've copied it, and I'm just going to delete that and paste that path in here. And that's the external location we are going to save our data in, which is going to be in here in a folder called external products. So let's run that. All right, there you go. Now let's refresh the files section to see that external products folder. There you go. We have the external products folder, which is a delta table. So we have the delta log and the Parquet file. Looks good. But let's also refresh the tables section because we also have a table created, even though the data itself is stored in an external location. We have the table object also created here for the external table. All right. So let's compare our managed table and our external table. So let's copy this code in a new cell. So we're going to describe managed products first. It's a nifty little SQL code that gives us a lot of information about table objects. And so you can see, for example, where this data is stored, the exact location, the type of the table, the name of the table, Spark catalog dot DP-700 lab 3, which is the name of our lakehouse, dot managed products, and the provider is Delta, the owner is trusted service user, table properties, we have all of this data. Now let's see the same for the external tables. All right, so this is the external table. And here the difference is the location, right? Here the location is managed by Fabric, by the Lakehouse. Here it is managed by us. So this is the location that we have provided while creating this external table, right? So that's the main difference between your managed table and your external table. All right. So let's drop these two tables. Okay, so now when we refresh our lakehouse, we will see that yes, both the tables objects were dropped. But if we refresh our files, you can see the data for external products still exists here under files where we have externally given it a location to keep the actual data. So if we want to create another table object later on top of these same data files, we can. The only thing that we have dropped is the table objects. Okay, so the managed tables, if you drop the table, you lose the data forever. And external tables, you have the data in that external location that you have used before. Okay, let's use SQL to create a delta table. Let's create a new code cell here. All right. Okay, and so now here what we're doing is we're creating a delta table, create table products using delta, but we're using the same data files that we had put in the files external products. So let's create this new table object now. All right, so let's refresh our tables section, and we should have now a new table called products there. And we can also query this table with SQL like um, any other table. And there you go. This is the same data that we started with. All right, very good. Let's go to our next task, which is explore table versioning. So let's add a new code cell here. Okay, so over here we're going to update the products table and change the list price for category of products mountain bikes. And then we're going to see how Delta Tables creates different versions in the data. There you go. So we have affected or changed 32 rows in the data set. And now let's look at the history of the table. Let's run that. All right, there you go. You can see here that the 0th version was the create table. So that's the first time we created the table. And then the version number 1 is when we updated the table with this code right above here. Okay, so we can always go back to the previous version if we want to. All right. Let's run some more code here to look at the previous version, the original data. Okay, so here we're going to first look at the latest data, which we just updated, and then we're going to look at the original data, which is where we use this version as off code to look at a previous version data. Okay, so this table above, you can see has the reduced list price, which is the latest version of the data. And here you can see that this is the original list price, which was in the original data set. All right, great. Next task is analyzing the delta table with SQL queries. And we can do that in our notebook using the magic command, SQL magic command. So the first thing we are going to do here is create a temporary view, and then we are going to query from the view. All right. So you can see we can do a lot of aggregations and group bys um, and create views as well in SQL here. All right. Let's add another code cell. All right, this is a much simpler SQL query. We're just getting the category and the number of products. And now what we can do here is convert this into a chart. So I'm just going to create a new chart here. And what we can do is also start editing this chart. For example, right now it's a column chart. I can make it into a bar chart, for example, and I can do a lot of different things here. But for now, this is good. The x-axis is a category, the y-axis is the number of products, and this looks good. So this is our chart, which looks similar to the one in the instructions um, pane. Alternatively, we can also run SQL query. This time we use that magic command, but we have another option here to run a SQL query, which is using the spark.sql function in PySpark. So within that spark.sql function, you can give your SQL command, and then you can also add some of the Spark functions on top of that. So we can also run this, for example. So this is also another way to um, use SQL with your delta tables. All right. The last task for this lab is to use delta tables for streaming data. So Delta Lake supports streaming data. So it can be a source or a sink for data streams using the Spark Structured Streaming API. So let's get into this code. We're just going to copy this and paste it in this notebook. So for example, we're going to first create a new subdirectory called data in the files section of my lakehouse. And then we're going to create a new JSON schema with two columns, the device and the status. And we're going to write some data to that folder. So let's just run this very quickly. So our source stream is created. And then what we're going to do is we're going to run the next code where we're going to be writing it to the sink. There you go. So our data is now streaming to the Delta sink. And what we're going to do now is we're going to just query our streaming data. Right, so we have some data here. We can create a new chart, for example. That looks good. Or we can do something like a bar chart. All right, so we have device 1 and device 2, or we can say y-axis is status, or x-axis is status. Let's take x-axis is status, and y-axis is device, for example. All right, so we can see for device 1, we have more OKs than errors. For device 2, we have more errors than OKs. That's very good. So we can visualize our streaming data. Now, just for simulating this as streaming data, we're going to add some more data to our stream. And there you go. You've already seen this. Let's run this again, and we can see an update in this chart. All right, so you can see this has increased now to 10. Before it was 6, for example. And to stop our stream, we're just going to add the final code, which is delta stream dot stop. All right. And with that, we are come to the end of this lab.